See how nice that sounds, man? That's why it sounds so appealing to your ears. What's up, guys? Welcome back. So going ahead and gonna make a small little lesson video, more like little tips, right? I've been working on this thing a lot. That's why I haven't done any of those for a little while. But that's really what the purpose of this channel is. It's not really about all this. It's more about, again, using Adam Jones' playing style to learn a little bit about guitar and maybe learn a little bit about songs, right? So today we're going to learn about, we're going to talk about the perfect fifth, right? The perfect fifth in a scale is the fifth degree of any scale that you're playing in, right? I'm always talking about D Aeolian, right? Because D Aeolian is the mode that Adam Jones uses the most in his songs. It's also known as D minor. But in pentatonic, if we start here at the D, it's just D, F, G, A, C, D. 5 notes, pentatonic, 5 tonics, right? The last D isn't counted because it's just a higher octave of the first one. So it's really in pentatonic, right? And then in diatonic, which is all the notes in the scale, because you end up now with 8. That's why, by the way, that's why it's called an octave. When you play the next higher octave of a note, the octave, the 8, that's where the octave comes from. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's D. That's D. Okay? So we're talking about fifths today. So this is the fifth. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay? Now, that should sound familiar, right? You're going to hear that played in a bunch of Tool songs because he writes a lot around the fifth. It always sounds good. The fifth of any degree in any scale always sounds good against the tonic, right? So when you're playing down, remember we're in drop D tuning because we're doing Tool songs, right? But when we're playing from the fifth string down, basically the pattern or the visual reference that you could use here is that the fifth is always 1 string down, 2 frets over. So it looks like that. It's always going to look like this when you're playing on the 5th string. Here's C and it's 5th. Right? Now, since we're playing in D minor, which is really F major, E, the next note, is actually Locrian, which is a diminished fifth. That's the only place that happens in a scale. So the E fifth, if we were to just continue going here, would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. See how it's half a step down? That's called a diminished fifth. But when we move up to F, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we're back to the same pattern, see? Right? So you see how the fifth always sounds good against the tonic note, the tonic being the first note that you're starting to use, okay? So now, when you're in drop D tuning, this pattern doesn't work because since you dropped the E string down to a D, you got to move everything up 2 frets. So instead of doing this, the fifth is actually happening right on top of each other. So this right here, D, A, is happening up here on the D. C, G, C, G, B, F sharp, right? Well, A to E, because A would have been the nut, right? So that's how you find the fifths of any tonic you're playing. This could come in handy if you're trying to like maybe solo over, a chord progression, or you just want to add like a cool melodic line. The fifth is always going to sound great, man. So we're going to take a really popular song that you guys are going to know and recognize right off rip, and you're going to see how he uses the fifths. It's all fifths. It's just a progression of fifths, and it sounds beautiful, right? And it's right in 2. So here we go. So he starts off with the octave. So here's open D to the D. That's the octave, and then here's the fifth. So it goes. Right? Here's the B flat. Right, here's the fifth. Here's the fifth. There's the fifth again. G to D. D is the fifth of G. Then to the A. So let's do those 3 chords real quick in progression. See how nice that sounds, man? That's why it sounds so appealing to your ears, because it's called the perfect fifth for a reason. Sometimes if you ever do like any ear training classes, you'll notice that the perfect fifth and the octave are sometimes the most difficult to identify from each other because it sounds very close to the octave. Now here he skips. He does it different ways, different times. Sometimes he goes, that's a progression of fifths. Boom, boom. C, G, D. Remember the G and the D here? See, where else can I find you a G? Right here, look. There's a G and a D right there. There's the fifth. One string down, 2 frets over. Now remember, that pattern changes though when you go from the G to the B string because of the tuning between G and B. But for the majority of what you're playing on the guitar, that concept of 1 string down, 2 frets over is always going to sound good. Now, that is also the beginning of a line, which is... So what he's doing there is he's using different degrees. We'll get into the rest of the degrees later. I'm going to start with the fifth. But what he's using here is actually, this is a fifth. This is a minor third. This is a perfect fourth. Now this is a little different here because it ends up being this. The way he's playing it here is actually a major second. A major second is 1 whole step up from the note. That's, if you notice, that's the same note. I'm just playing it in different ways. So let's go through that progression. C, D, which is really... this, that's a second. Then from here to here is a major third. He does that a lot, man. He likes to play with those. That's called pedaling, right? When you pedal off of a tonic. So here he's pedaling off the A. That's the A. So he's starting off the A and bouncing off of that. He also does that in the push it melody. When he does this. So when he does that push it melody, he actually pedals off the A, but the A is the second note. So he's pedaling back. So he's going like this. That's the A. So that's a different concept. We'll get to that in another class, but I just wanted to talk about fifths, man. Fifth is another place he uses fifths too, is in the outro of Wings for Mary, right? Right, so those first two is C, G, then he slides up to F. Then here he does a minor third. Then here he does a second. Which is, see, that's a minor third, and here's a second. Now some people continue and play this up here on the D here, instead of the D here, it's the same note. It would look like this. Same note. I like the timbre of the thinner string here. All right, man. So that's it. Just a really quick lesson. I wanted to show you guys something that's a little musical concept you can play around with fifths. Play around with fifths over some chord progressions, man. You could get a lot of action out of that. If you literally, sometimes I sit around and I just literally goof around doing this. Get a lot of stuff out of that, man. So all right, man, hope you have some fun practicing today. I hope you learned something here. If you did, please leave a like, leave a comment, leave me a follow, and welcome to the Tool Shed, man. I'm really looking forward to seeing you guys live pretty soon. All right, take it easy, man. Be well.